today's lesson, we're going to cover the Black Plague. The topics that we're going to cover today include when the Black Plague happened, how did Europeans get the plague, as well as how did a person, once it was in Europe, get the plague, and how many people died as a result of the plague. Let's start today with how Europe got the plague. Asia and Europe at the time were major trading allies. Allies are groups of people that like to trade amongst each other. They still are today, but during that time, there was only one easy way, unless you're going to walk all across Asia, all through Russia to Europe. The real easy way of getting from China and Japan to Europe is two ways, or three ways. You can walk, or you can come through South China Sea, through the islands, around Africa, and up to Europe. Or you can come through the Bay of Bengal, South China Sea, come up through the Arabian Sea, through the Persian Gulf, or the Red Sea, come through the Mediterranean Sea, and get to Europe as well. Now, in the bottom of the Chinese, Japanese, Asian ships, they were not as clean, okay? They had all sorts of problems down in the bottom of these ships. All sorts of rats and other animals were down in the bottom of the ships. And what happened is, from Asia, these rats at the bottom of these ships would carry a bacteria. Then, the fleas that were in Europe would grab hold of the rats, would suck off the blood of the rats, and when a flea bites you, the flea basically puts the blood in you, and you get the plague. So, it starts in Asia, the train ships go around to Europe, and is carried by rats. The fleas jump on the rats, the fleas bite you. So, fleas on rats, fleas bite humans. So, when did the plague happen? It was most impactful in Europe, started with Asian train ships coming around into the Mediterranean Sea, and it started in 1328 by Asian train ships. It lasted approximately 30 years. Now the numbers are a little off. There is not an exact date of when the plague ended. Some say 1352, others have stretched it all the way to 1360, 1365. So, honestly, there is no exact date. That's the reason we're going to say 30 years, because that is a solid round number that researchers have said and historians have said is about the time period of the plague. How many people died as a result of the plague? About 20 million plus. Like the years, the number's a little off. Nobody knows for sure how many people died. They know approximately 20 million plus. Could go a little under, could go a little over. Different historians have said different numbers. It could also be 1/3 plus of the population at the time. Now, let me give a little clarification right quickly. Not only it didn't matter what group you were. It didn't matter if you were the king, a wealthy person, a nobleman, a serf, a peasant. You were not off limits in regards to the plague. It didn't matter how much wealth you had, you could still potentially get the plague. Now we're going to talk about one of the most famous nursery rhymes in history relates to the Black Plague. You may not have realized it, which we'll talk about in class. We'll also talk about what happened once a person died. What did they do? And we'll spend some time on the little stories about the plague as well in class. So, today we have talked about how the plague happened, that Chinese and Japanese and Asian ships traded with Europe, The rats on the bottom of the ships crawled out. The fleas bit the rats, and then the fleas bit the humans. It started in 1328 by Asian trading ships. It lasted 30 years, and 20 million, or 1/3 of the population, got the plague. Now, what are the symptoms of the plague? High fever, buboes of the lymph nodes. Those are those big, purplish black circles. That's basically what they are, and they swell up real big. You begin to get really sick. You have an intense desire to sleep as well. You also only live for anywhere from 2 to 4 days. Typically, once a person got the plague in the Middle Ages, they didn't have the medical attention that we do today. Most people would only last 2 to 4 days and then pass. You couldn't just cure the plague with Tylenol or Advil or any other medicine that we have today. So, we have talked about the Black Plague today, and we have talked about all the topics that are included in the plague, thus ending the Black Plague lesson for today.